Hello and welcome to Really Cool People, a podcast produced by Schweitzer Church. I'm your host, Jason Leininger, and a special welcome to our opening of our 6th season. We're really glad you're here. This is a special place to hear stories of really cool people. The hope is that as you and I listen, we'll be inspired, encouraged, and challenged through moments of serendipity. In a sermon entitled The Weight of Glory, C.S. Lewis said that there are no ordinary people. You and I have never talked to a mere mortal. It's my joy over the next few moments to introduce you to somebody who may seem ordinary, especially themselves, and yet they are a really cool person. Today, we're going to meet Lori Scott. Lori grew up in Springfield, went to school in Springfield, went to college in Springfield, met her husband in Springfield, and yet, surprise to herself and to others, she found herself living in some different places in Missouri, and yet coming back here at this time in her life. She went on to become a music educator, and something that she thought she didn't want to do, she became a spouse of a pastor and served in that way. And she's got some great stories. One of the things you're going to hear from Lori today is a lot of laughter because there's a lot of joy in Lori's life. So I invite you to join me in listening to the story of Lori Scott. Today, we're happy to welcome Lori Scott into the studio. Welcome, Lori.
Hi, Jason. Glad to be here today.
Glad to have you. And so let's start with your story.
Wow, my story. Well, my story starts in Springfield, Missouri. And I was raised in Midtown in a craftsman-style Sears and Roebuck house that had been brought in the late 1800s on trains.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and my dad worked at a lumber yard as a manager. My mom managed a pediatrician's office, and I have an older brother that still does rock and roll. And so Springfield is home for me. I'm a Boyd Elementary graduate, a Pipkin Junior High graduate, a Central High graduate, and a Drury University graduate, along with KU.
How'd you get KU thrown in there?
Well, that's where I got my master's degree in music education. And that's not Kentucky University. That would be Kansas University.
Well, if Kentucky, it'd be UK. So.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me.
You gave a little emphasis to your brother doing rock and roll. So is that one of your favorite musical genres?
I actually learned how to chord and play by ear with my older brother because we were 60s kids when we were growing up, and he had a rock band out in the back old stable that would come and practice upstairs in the old stable and blow out all of the fuses in the house. So, little sister always had to go give all the guys cookies while they were fixing the fuses. So my brother is very talented as well as a musician, and I learned much from him.
Did you develop some favorite songs, some favorite music in that space?
Yes. He and I did California Dreamin'.
Yeah.
And we did some Carpenters and things together,
Did you play the drums like Karen?
Oh, gosh, no. The only drums I played was a kilty drum in the drum corps in high school.
Central High, yeah.
No, I don't think I would be, ambidextrous enough to sing and play a drum at the same time.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's fun to do some Carpenter stuff. And yeah.
You bet.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So if you started in that craftsman house, your dad must have talked about it significantly for you to know those kinds of things. What was unique about it? I mean, because some of them were just, like every other one, but then some of them had some uniquenesses to it.
My dad was a home project guy. And so he took off the old latticework back porch and put on a nice family room with a big deck with my brother assisting. And I used to ride my bike up to Rathbone Ace Hardware on Commercial Street to get paint and stuff, put it in the basket on the bike and come home and paint the banister and help Dad out. So history has always been interesting to me. I taught college music history and loved it. Did a lot of music appreciation courses at the high school level, taught classroom piano, and just history itself, I find in all situations, we can learn from our history. We can correct our behavior from learning from history. But yes, from stripping woodwork to taking care of the belching furnace in the basement.
Oh my.
I learned many things living in an older home.
Sounds like you know how to like get a furnace going or fix it or something like that.
Our walls were all plaster. And so quite often, as you know, the plaster is made of horsehair and lattice work, if you don't know that. And then the plaster goes over that. And when you're living in a 100-year-old house, it sags. So my father had fixed my bedroom, I don't know how many times on the ceiling. We had a bunking party. We ran up the stairs. One of my girlfriends slammed the door and the ceiling fell in on top of us. My father was not a happy camper that day.
Did you fix the ceiling?
No, my sweet dad did.
Okay. Fun.
Fun, yes.
Well, what did you do growing up as a kid living in Midtown? I mean, you already mentioned having to ride your bike up to Rathbone, but what was life like as a kid living in the middle section of Springfield back when that kind of area was really vivacious?
Very vivacious, very alive neighborhoods, and a lot of pride on being a Midtown person. We lived on Jefferson Street, just next to the North Cox Hospital.
Okay.
And just the civic pride and the feeling of neighborhood. That we were not afraid to walk to our girlfriend's house. One of my girlfriends lived on Benton. Her house became on the National Historic Registry. Huge, beautiful place. And I learned a lot there because in that particular home, they still had the chains where slaves had been held in the basement area of that stone home. And so we felt safe. There was nothing about riding my bike down to see Mary or see my friend Wendy or see my friend Emmy or whatever. A great sense of community at that time.
And then life at Central High School, that was...
Love Central High School. I was so blessed to have a fantastic music instructor there, Connie Ballou, who was a wonderful Christian influence. My brother had also had her, so I felt very fortunate to have her. Participated in lots of musical theater, loved every minute of that. The madrigals, singers, just anything that had to do with music, you'd find me there most of the time. In that old wing, the new wing now that Central has, I'm very proud that the city and this school board have done great things with Central High School and have preserved it.
Sure. And then what did you study at Drury?
At Drury, I was a double major in music performance and music education. And that required 2 voice recitals, one my junior year and one my senior year. I also was in musicals there, had the lead in The Boyfriend, was in Brigadoon, was Aunt Eller in Oklahoma. Enjoyed Drury very much. Again, had some great friends that become lifelong. Dr. Tawana Julian would be one of those.
Oh, yeah.
She and I went to Pipkin, Central, Drury, and KU together.
Oh, my goodness.
So she's a lifelong musical friend. I still keep in contact with the girls from my singing trio that went to contest. One's in Canada, one still lives here in town. So to me, music is more than just learning the music. It's how the music makes you feel. And especially with the message that it has and with the people you're making the music with.
When you went to Drury, to study music.
Mhm.
What did you imagine you would do with that in your life?
Well, in seventh grade, I was probably kind of ornery and, kind of going through those rebellion times. But we we had a very talented musical class from the class of 1976 at Pipkin. And so when I was in seventh grade, we had probably one of the worst music teachers I'd ever experienced in my life. In that our class was extremely talented and she didn't know what to do with us. So she pretty much worksheeted us to death. And I mean, we had people that played violin. There were 4 or 5 piano players in there. We all could sing parts beautifully. And I thought, and I was pretty young at the time, 13 or 14?
Mm-hmm.
I think I could be a music teacher and be a better one than she is. Now, I know that's a little weird, but in my heart, I really felt like that was what I was being called to do, was music education, even at 7th grade.
Wow. So did you do that then?
I did.
Yeah.
I have 33 years experience in the classroom, and all in the state of Missouri.
Uh-huh.
Since my husband was a United Methodist minister, we moved around. However, he was a late bloomer in ministry. I will put it that way. He felt God's call in his life in 1999. And we had 2 children and nice careers. We owned a business. And when he came to talk to me about that, I was like, are you sure? Because back in college, I had dated a pastor. And I said, God, I just can't do that. I won't do that. Okay. And so God has a sense of humor, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He gives me a husband in midlife that has been a pharmacist and runs his own pharmacy and calls him into ministry. So I guess the moral to that story is don't ever tell God no.
What were your conversations with God like around that time of your life?
I think they were more what I wanted instead of what he needed. Okay. And it took a while to come around. But I mean, if you look at it, your whole life is ministry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had already been ministering as a couple within the churches for a long time, wherever we were at. So our first church together was at Asbury United Methodist Church up in Prairie Village, Kansas, when he was going to pharmacy school. And I sang in the choir there and very much enjoyed that. We wound up, I was teaching music that whole time. And when he got his degree, we wound up moving to Warsaw, Missouri. And in 1988, their choral music program came open. And so I have never known to separate my faith from what I was doing in the classroom. It was always there. It was always constant because I believe we can see God in everything. We can see him in the very minute things that we go through in the day or the very large things. And so once we were able to sell our business, we sold our custom home. We packed up our kids, a 6th grader and an 8th grader, and off to the wilderness we went. We went to a small 2-charge churches, one in Alton, Missouri, and one in Thayer, Missouri. And I was very blessed to teach music in Alton as well. We had been in Warsaw, Missouri for 19 years, and I had taught there for 19 years. So to give that up and move to something new and to replace a 27-year veteran that retired was probably some of the most difficult teaching I ever did.
Alton and Thayer, they're like down on the...
They're down in the Mark Twain Forest.
Missouri-Arkansas border,
Missouri-Arkansas border, you're exactly right. Highway 19 is where they're at, yes.
Yeah, like if you want to go from here to Memphis, you got to go through Thayer, right?
You sure do. You have to go through
Yeah.
Thayer. Yes. So we learned a lot in ministry. We were there and assigned there 4 years. And I brought back musicals to their school district. We did 4 musicals while I was there. Kids did great. The congregations grew extensively during our time there. And God gives us grace in a lot of ways along the pathway if we look for it. And I had applied for that job in Alton and didn't know if anybody else had applied. But later, I got a letter in the mail from one of the ladies that was one of our members at the church, who said, I just wanted you to know I withdrew my application for the music position at Alton Schools. I had applied, and I really feel like you need to have that job. I mean, that's grace.
Yeah.
And so when you ask who to look up to, that little woman became a great musical friend. And she gave up her dream for me to be there 4 years. And she drove to a different school for 4 years. And she took the position after I left. So God is in everything. We just have to wake up and take a notice of it.
What was your coming to faith experience like? How did you experience that as a kid? Or maybe, I don't know, whenever it was.
Youth group.
Yeah?
Youth group. My parents and I, my parents were always at church. Significantly, they helped with the youth group with my brother, who was 5 years older than me. By that time, the youth group had really, really grown. And so they had a person who came in, was an excellent musician. He was the organist as well as the youth leader. And this was the time of youth choirs and strumming the guitars and singing "For Those Tears I Died." And we toured. I mean, we went all over Missouri singing and touring. And I would say my experience was on a Sunday night at youth group when we were learning the song "For Those Tears I Died." And very much the youth group was extremely important to me at that time. And it certainly made a difference for me.
When you say you toured, like they took the whole...
They took the whole choir. There was about 25 of us. Yeah, with guitars and the whole bit. Yeah.
Guitars in our hands, we're crossing the land, huh?
We were. Literally.
Wow.
Yes, we even had white skirts, red shirts, and a little patch that said "one way" with the arrow going up. So yes, I am dating myself big time.
You are. That was before my time. I don't think I've seen anything quite like that.
1971, 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely was before my time.
Yeah.
So, wow, incredible. So then you had that as a background. You mentioned that when David, your husband, went into ministry, you guys had you had 2 kids. What was it like being a mom and then thinking about all that and like transitioning? And
I cried when we moved.
yeah.
And my daughter, the 8th grader, was sitting in the passenger seat going, "It's going to be okay, Mom." Our house became the YMCA, literally. We lived right next door in a parsonage that we completely repainted and redid before we moved in. And it had a great big porch-like setting, for your car to be in. It was quite a transition. The crock pot was always on because we were right across from the school. So when we did musicals, I wound up feeding a lot of kids. And most of the time, there was a basketball game on the carport and the driveway, most all the time, and kids everywhere, which was part of the ministry. It really was. Yeah, I know you'll get to know those kids when you have them in their home. Some of our kids had 47-mile drive in a school bus. This district I worked for Alton, Missouri, was the third largest geographic district in Missouri.
Wow.
And so if a student made a part in the musical, that meant somebody had to come in and pick them up or whatever. We had foreign exchange students that lived way out, and she was an excellent musician that participated in Cinderella. Her American parents just gave her permission to stay in our basement, and she did. She just stayed in our basement when we had musical rehearsal. So we always had kids coming and going, and we also had the needy knock on our side door, because when we arrived in Oregon County, they had a very small food pantry, and this is also one of the poorest counties in Missouri. And so I began to have people knocking on our door for food. That became a little bit of a safety concern, as you might well know, because my husband's ministry office was in our parsonage basement. So David saw a need at both of those facilities because the Thayer community also needed a food pantry. So I have to give him the kudos. He started a Oregon County food pantry that still goes today in both of those locations and serves people. So adjusting to having a very public life was pretty tough. And if you know anything about mamas, which I know you do, if we do not feel safe and we don't feel like our kids are safe, there's definitely some situations that occur there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just felt like our life there was just crazy. We never knew who was going to knock on the door. They redid the bathroom when we were there. So we could be sitting down to breakfast and saws would be going off with sheetrock in the other room. I mean, I guess I finally learned some things are always out of your hands and you just have to go with the flow.
Yeah, you do. You do. So if you got to be settled for like 19 years, and then you started this trek as a clergy spouse.
Yes.
Getting to be moved around some. Was that a surprise? And you mentioned it was a surprise being married to pastor then, but you're there for 4 years, and then I don't know what your trajectory was. If you moved rather.
We moved after 4 years, and our next 3 years would be where our kids graduated. And my favorite job, which was Lebanon High School in Lebanon, Missouri. Had a chance to take my son's class to Carnegie Hall and sing at Carnegie Hall. We produced great musicals there. My daughter was Belle in Beauty and the Beast. They also, God puts you in a place sometimes that you think, why are we here? And our son showed great skill in craftsmanship and conservation. Wonderful tech school at Lebanon they built their own houses. The high school kids built their own houses. So I feel like for my children, our daughter did have to move at her senior year to Lebanon High School. She was always very creative, very artistic, and wonderful art department at Lebanon High School that made a tremendous difference for her as well. From Lebanon, we moved to Hannibal, Missouri, where we served 7 years, which was our longest tenure. I was kind of forced into an early retirement because by that time I had too much experience. to teach elementary, which is all that they had open at the
Okay.
time. But God provided again, and the local Christian college, Hannibal LaGrange University, which is a Southern Baptist institution, needed a choral director. And so those have to be some of my favorite years as well. I was in charge of the choir, as well as teaching music appreciation to college students. I was a supervisor for the music education students for their student teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Had the great honor to take the kids on tour throughout the state, driving them to different places and all of that. It was just a really sweet gig. And I learned a lot about myself at each place that we were moved.
Mm-hmm.
Our final place was South St. Louis County, close to Jefferson Barracks. And we were there 5 years, and then David retired.
Close to Jefferson Barracks.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Jefferson Barracks is one of the oldest operating bases for the military in the United States, west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And it is a unbelievable historic cemetery where you can go along the edges of the Mississippi River and see stuff as far back as the late 1700s to 1800s. It actually, when the Louisiana Purchase came about, Jefferson Barracks, I believe, was already there as an outpost. Okay, I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
But many people of honor and the military are buried there as well. It's expansive. It is the second largest cemetery in the United States, next to Arlington, where our veterans have been interred.
Wow.
Very neat. So South St. Louis just kind of runs along the Mississippi River as it goes south. So that's where we were at. Once again, we moved into a parsonage and redid every square inch of it. It was really interesting. 100-year-old roadhouse where officers from the military had been entertained. And it had been a speakeasy, is what it had been in the 1920s. People would knock on our door. And, in The Wizard of Oz, when they get to The Wizard of Oz and the little guy with the mustache opens it up and he says, ain't no way or whatever. Well, I had, luckily, a very old, thick 1920s timbered door with a piece of stained glass in it that I could open up for my safety and say, what you need? And refer them next door to where they could get assistance. We also had a banquet hall next door, which we got to know the owner very, very well. And you never knew exactly what time the party would quit over there, but usually about 11 o'clock. He had lots of weddings. And he had a wedding venue, and a lot of the people thought that our parsonage was the wedding venue. And so they knock on our back door in their bridesmaids' outfits. I'm telling you, you got to appreciate pastors' wives or pastors' spouses because you never know what they've been through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned there that you redid that house. You redid the house when you were in Thayer. And you talked about earlier on, you talked about growing up in a house where your dad was always redoing it. How have you thought about that as both a reality thread that's run through your life, but then have you ever thought about that, what kind of metaphor that is for your life?
I think in many ways that you take what you've been given and make it better. And if that was one thing I learned from my mom and dad, they both grew up in extreme poverty during the Depression. My dad was born on the Little Osage River in a cabin, and the only installation was newspaper. My mom was one of 11 children, and she was right in the middle. So I think she wound up really mothering a lot of the younger ones that are aunts and things. So for my parents, they reused and redid what they had. And I think really passed that down to both my brother and I. And I also firmly believe that that area of creativity and craftsmanship that my brother has, my father had, my daughter has the creativity. I had the creativity. My son has the craftsmanship. Our God-given gifts. You know, it's got to be something to take what maybe doesn't meet what you thought it should be and put your touch on it. You know, that's certainly a God-given gift.
Yeah. Talked about David some. Where'd you guys meet and what drew you together? Other than the fact that he wasn't a pastor at the time.
Dave and my husband was from the class of 75 and went to Central High School as well. And so I knew who he was, but he was kind of the math guy, the science guy, the sports guy. He played basketball because of his height, and he also was a state tennis player. It's funny how you would ask me how we got together. My junior year in high school, I was going up the center staircase at Central, running an errand for a teacher. And here he comes down the steps, and this staircase had a great big landing with old stained glass windows behind it that the sun would shine through. And God stopped and talked to me that day as he tootled down the steps in his shorts and his tennis racket on his way to state. And God said to me, "You need to remember this guy. He's going to be important sometime in your life." Okay, Lord, I'll listen to that, but he's got some cute legs. That's my nickname for him. That might embarrass him. Anyway.
I can't wait.
We wound up at Drury University.
Yeah.
He was a year ahead of me, and of course I was after that. But where we really got together was we both worked at JCPenney at the mall, and I was in the junior department. He was in the suit department. And he was always looking for somebody to go to lunch with. And he had the notorious reputation for asking many girls from the candy counter and other places. But I had a good friend, my friend Emmy. I'd call her up and I said, "I don't know if I can do this. You need to come with me." She worked at Merle Norman. And we'd meet for lunch, Emmy, David, and I. So anyway, we worked together at Penny's, did a lot of things. Occasionally he'd ask me to dances. You can all laugh at this one out there listening to this podcast. At the fraternity house, I was called Last Resort Lori. Because Dave was a little shy, and he might wait until it was 9 o'clock and we were getting off work. "Hey, there's a dance at fraternity house. You want to go?" "Oh, okay, I'll go." Anyway, long story short, go to our junior year, and he was at his awards banquet for the seniors. And I had been told to be at the awards banquet for the seniors. I didn't know why. I'm like, "What do I need to be there for? I'm not a senior, I'm a junior." So we get through this banquet and everything, and then they give out awards, and they gave me an award because they did not have a senior who qualified. And it was through my music sorority, Sigma Alpha Iota. And I guess David began to notice me then. Okay. And so I was going to skedaddle out of there really fast. And because there was an organ concert down at Stone Chapel, and I wanted to go hear it. I play organ as well. And he followed me down there, and the organ concert was over. And so we sat down in the pew, and he talked to me for a while, and he goes, "Lori, you're the Marian kind." Okay. And I'm like, uh-oh, I think I'm in trouble here. So long story short, then he had to get rid of his other girlfriends. He didn't call me for 6 weeks.
Other girlfriends?
That's what they all told me at the fraternity. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we began to date after that summer, and he was off to pharmacy school. And so I finished up my senior year, and we were married after he finished his first year of pharmacy school and moved to Kansas City. So that's kind of a long answer to how we got together.
What was your dating advice to your kids then after that experience?
Well, the first thing is whoever you date must always love Jesus.
Yeah.
That was the dating experience. And if they do not give you any kind of respect, they're not worth your respect. That would be the dating advice.
Okay.
And the other thing is you have to date some real weenies before you find the right one. Just to know you found the right one.
There you go. This is good stuff. Thank you. I appreciate this. Well, I'd like to ask you to think a little bit about music, because you've talked a lot about music along the way. You've talked about, taking some kids through some musical theater things. Do you have a favorite musical piece?
Oh my goodness, that is so hard.
Okay, so maybe one that you turn back to because it, because of the depth of meaning it has for you.
From a conductor standpoint, I think it would be a chorus piece called Homeland. And it was written by Z. Randall Stroop as a way to honor his father that he never knew that was killed in the Holocaust. And Stroop wrote that to the famous melody of Holt's The Planets. Da 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 da. Beautiful, beautiful melody. And the words, I vow to you my country. It's all about the love for country.
Okay.
And when I had my community chorus at Hannibal, as well as my college students come together, they sang that. It was amazing. Another, sometimes from the conducting standpoint, you think of things that were your favorites. And when I was at Hannibal LaGrange, we did hymn sings. And so the choir would prepare 5 pieces. We'd tell the history. We'd have special people that would MC, whatever. I'm going to say Dan Forrest's arrangement of How Great Thou Art from a conducting standpoint with the instruments, the orchestra, the voices. And with that, it was the community that all came together from different churches as well as my college students. The final downbeat on that and cutting them off was just incredible. As far as individual singing, from the performance standpoint of being a singer, I can't remember the song, but the Drury Singers traveled to England. At that time, Drury had a January term. And so our choir went on tour for the whole month of January throughout England and Scotland. And we were at Canterbury and stood on the stone steps that were weathered. And we were singing a Renaissance piece of some type that was Latin. Can't really remember. But it just dawned on me that here I'm standing on these steps where other people have stood and perhaps sung even the same song. And how amazing it is to have that gift of music from all cultures, all ages, to experience in the deepest depths of your heart. And of course, if you're in a cathedral, the voices just float. I mean, and it was an a cappella piece. I had a special descant up above, so I could just hear my voice just floating up to God. I would say as a performer, that's probably one of my favorites. I have sung for the Kansas City Royals, the national anthem. When they had a professional soccer team, I've sung for them. I do national anthems for the Drury Lady Panthers and Basketball Panthers for the boys there and the girls. And it's always an honor to be asked to sing our national anthem, to pay tribute to those who have served, or to recognize our nation.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking forward to these days?
Oh boy.
What's on your to-do list and
my to-do list.
Bucket list?
Well, I love to travel,
mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping to get my husband David well enough that he can travel with me. But we right now are traveling most of the time up I-44 to get his cancer treatments at Siteman. Mm-hmm. And so that's weekly right now. So our bucket list has turned out to do small things along the way as we go. Because if we're going to have to travel to St. Louis, then we might as well enjoy the ride.
Yes.
And I-44 is not one of my favorites. So we could probably do a travel podcast on what to do when you're going down Old Route 66 or I-44.
Yeah.
We have a favorite haunt in St. James that is called Sybil's Restaurant, and it's delightful.
Okay.
Best food ever that we have stopped at a couple of times. We have stopped at Merrimack last week. Merrimack Springs, absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. There's other places you can stop along too. The world's largest rocking chair, but I might have to pass up on that one on the bucket list.
Oh my goodness. Where's that one at?
It's somewhere between Lebanon and Bourbon somewhere.
Okay.
But I do love to travel. I would love to go to Ireland sometime and experience the Celtic music.
Mm-hmm.
There are just many places that I've not been. One of my favorite places I have been was Austria. I toured with Messiah Project in the year 2000.
Okay.
And it was amazing. My favorite memory there, of course, was just the society being so steeped in music.
Uh-huh.
But we would stay within homes, basically, and so we had 16 singers, we had 4 dancers, we had a small orchestra that went with Messiah Project, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, is based in Springfield, Missouri. And they bring Christ through the arts. And it's an amazing ministry that they do. We sang everywhere from Budapest, which was, still coming out under that communist influence.
Yeah.
Where our place we stayed was guarded by Dobermans and a large wire fence around it, to staying with I stayed with a little gal that was with the opera company in Vienna from Czechoslovakia, who spoke with me and as best as she could. But the kicker, the favorite memory, was getting in an old beat-up van with 5 different ladies from 5 different places that took us back to the airport to fly home. And the song that came on, she had Christian radio going on, just blasting, and it was Shout to the Lord. And that whole van sang Shout to the Lord when we all had 5 different languages going in whatever language they knew.
Wow.
I mean, is Christ universal or what? We like to think of him as my Jesus. No. He's everybody's Jesus. So bucket lists is travel. I'd like
Okay.
to get out to Washington. I've got a nephew in Washington. I'd like to go and see it in Seattle. So we'll get that done.
Yeah, you will. Well, Lori, thanks for coming in and sharing all these great memories and your laughter and your joy in life. Thank you so much for doing that. And I want to say thanks on behalf of the staff here at Schweitzer and myself. You have taken on a role that no one asked you to take on, but you did it. You've been an encouraging voice. You write notes. You've got little gifts that you share with us in surprising moments. They just pop up and you're there. And it's just a blessed gift on this side of the table. And so thank you so much for doing that. And we get to see you lead in worship and sing and smile in the choir. And that's great.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that.
Well, I want to thank Pastor Sheila, who asked me, of course, what I could give back, and also Barth for
Yeah.
always making sure that I have an opportunity to lead singing. But Pastor Sheila is the one that helps with the concerns and cares
Yeah.
that comes through some of her budget,
Yeah.
that I can encourage our staff, which after being on a staff, which I didn't really allude to that, but I did serve on a church staff for the last 5 years before we retired, and saw that there was a real need for encouragement among ministry staff. So that is my way of thanking everybody that's on staff for what they do.
Well, you have a gift. You got many, many gifts, and really appreciate you and how you offer them up to so many other people and to the Lord.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's been great being here.
Great. Thanks. Well, a big thank you to Lori for sharing her story. In listening today, I hope that you were inspired, encouraged, and challenged, and that you begin to behold the really cool people around you. The Really Cool People podcast is produced by Schweitzer Church, Springfield, Mo. Taylor Likes is our executive producer and editor, and I'm your host, Jason Leininger. You can help us out by liking, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. Until next time, stay cool.